November 2022. The Southern Ocean is pitch black. On board the Viking Polaris, a state-of-the-art expedition cruise ship, the mood is calm. This is not a wooden sailboat from the 19th century. This is a masterpiece of modern engineering. It has stabilizers, radar, satellite navigation, and a reinforced hull. Inside, passengers are finishing dinner, holding drinks, looking out at the dark water through storm-proof glass. They feel untouchable. Then, the ocean reminds them that they are not. There is no warning. A wall of water, a rogue wave towering higher than the ship's lower decks, slams into the side of the vessel. It hits with such kinetic force that it doesn't just rock the ship, it shatters it. Several reinforced glass panels implode. The ocean pours into the cabins. In the chaos of broken glass and freezing water, passengers are thrown across the room. One woman is killed. This incident sent a shockwave through the maritime world. We live in an age where we believe we have conquered nature. We map the seafloor, we predict hurricanes, we cross oceans while streaming movies. But there is one specific stretch of water at the bottom of the world that refuses to be tamed. It is a place where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans go to war. It is the only place on Earth where the water flows completely unobstructed around the globe, building up speed for thousands of miles before crashing into a choke point. This is the Drake Passage. And as the Viking Polaris proved, it doesn't matter how advanced our technology becomes. Here, the ocean always has the final say. Before we dive deeper into why these waters are so deadly, look down. If that subscribe button is still red, click it right now. We explore the planet's most dangerous frontiers every day, and you don't want the algorithm to cast you adrift before the next discovery. To understand why this specific stretch of water is so lethal, you have to look at the map, but don't look at the continents. Look at the empty space between them. Between the tip of South America and the Antarctic Peninsula, there is an 800-kilometer wide gap. It looks wide enough on a map, but in hydrological terms, it is a microscopic funnel. If you trace your finger around the globe at 60 degrees south latitude, you will notice something terrifying. There is no land, there are no mountains to block the wind, there are no continents to slow down the current. This creates the Antarctic Circumpolar Current. It is the strongest ocean current on the planet, moving 135 million cubic meters of water every single second. That is 600 times the flow of the Amazon River. For thousands of miles, this water rushes eastward, gathering speed, untouched by land, and then, suddenly, it hits the Drake Passage. The Pacific Ocean is effectively trying to squeeze through a door that is too small. The water is compressed, accelerating the flow and creating a chaotic, churning washing machine of currents. But the water is only half the problem. Above the surface, you have the winds. Sailors call them the furious 50s and the screaming 60s. Because there is no land to break the wind's momentum, low-pressure systems spiral around Antarctica like a carousel. Storms here don't just pass through, they live here. They generate massive swells, waves that have traveled for days, building energy only to slam into the currents moving in the opposite direction. And then there is the hidden trap, the geology. The ocean floor of the Drake Passage is not a flat plain, it is jagged. As these massive, deep ocean swells rush into the passage, the seafloor suddenly rises up toward the continental shelves. The energy of the wave has nowhere to go but up. This is what creates the Drake Shake, waves that become steep, vertical walls of water in a matter of minutes. It creates the perfect conditions for rogue waves, freak occurrences where multiple wave energies synchronize to form a single, colossal monster, twice the size of the surrounding sea state. This combination, the funnel effect, the endless fetch of the wind and the rising sea floor, turns the Drake Passage into the most violent hydrodynamic environment on Earth. If you could drain the water from the Drake Passage, you wouldn't just see a geological canyon, you would see a graveyard. This stretch of ocean is responsible for more disappearances than perhaps anywhere else in the Southern Hemisphere. But unlike the shipwrecks of the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, we know almost nothing about the victims. The violence of the water destroys the evidence. Wood is pulverized. Iron is rusted by the oxygen-rich cold water. Bodies are lost to the deep. History here is written in silence. But there are 3 stories that survive the noise, and they reveal the true cost of crossing this line. The first is a ghost story, the San Telmo. In 1819, this Spanish warship carrying 644 sailors and soldiers was fighting its way around Cape Horn. It was a massive vessel, the pinnacle of naval power at the time. But in the Drake Passage, power means nothing. The ship struggled against the storms, took severe damage, and then vanished from the records. Months later, seal hunters landed on Livingston Island, part of the Antarctic archipelago. There, thousands of miles from civilization, they found the wreckage of the San Telmo. They found shoes, they found wood, but they found no bodies. The implication is chilling. It is highly likely that the crew of the San Telmo didn't drown immediately. They likely drifted south, shipwrecked on the frozen edge of the world, and became the first humans to ever set foot on Antarctica. They discovered a new continent, only to freeze to death on its shores, waiting for a rescue that would never come. Then, there is the story of the Antarctic. In 1903, a Swedish expedition ship, captained by Carl Anton Larsen, headed into the passage. They weren't destroyed by waves, but by the passage's second weapon, ice. The sea ice in the Drake Passage is mobile and predatory. It crushed the ship's hull like an eggshell. The crew watched their ship sink, leaving them stranded on a desolate volcanic rock called Pollitt Island. They built a stone hut. They killed 1,100 penguins to survive the winter. For months, they lived in a primitive state, battling madness and starvation. The miracle of the Antarctic is not that the ship was lost, but that the men were found. They survived the winter, a testament to human stubbornness in the face of an environment designed to kill them. But the most famous battle against this ocean belongs to Ernest Shackleton. In 1915, after his ship Endurance was crushed in the Weddell Sea, Shackleton and his men were stranded on the ice. To save them, Shackleton had to do the impossible. He had to cross the Drake Passage in a lifeboat. The James Caird was only 22 feet long. Shackleton took 5 men and sailed it straight into the heart of the world's worst ocean. They faced waves that Shackleton described as giants. They were coated in freezing spray that turned to ice on the deck, weighing the boat down until they had to chip it away with axes. They navigated by the glimpse of a single star through the storm clouds. For 16 days, they were tossed inside the washing machine. If they had capsized once, they would have died in minutes, but they didn't. They reached South Georgia Island. It remains the greatest feat of small boat navigation in maritime history. They beat the Drake Passage. But they were the exception. Today, the Drake Passage is different, or at least we pretend it is. Every year, thousands of tourists cross this stretch of water. They do it in ships that are marvels of technology. We have gyroscopic stabilizers that counteract the rolling motion. We have satellite weather routing that allows captains to dodge the worst of the low-pressure systems. We have transformed the deadliest ocean, crossing in history, into a bucket list adventure. But the ocean has a way of exposing arrogance. The 2022 incident with the Viking Polaris was a wake-up call. It stripped away the illusion of control. It reminded us that a rogue wave does not care about radar. It doesn't care about the price of the ticket. When a ship enters the Drake Passage, it enters a zone of probability. The statistics say you will probably be fine. The physics say that if the conditions align, if the wind hits 12 on the Beaufort scale, if the current accelerates, if the swell hits the shelf at the wrong angle, the result is an energy release that no steel structure can fully guarantee protection against. We haven't conquered the Drake Passage. We have simply learned how to endure it better. We have built stronger shells to hide in. But outside that shell, the winds are still screaming at 100 miles per hour, and the waves are still hunting for a weakness. There are very few places left on Earth that are truly wild. We have paved the jungles and put cell towers on mountains, but the stretch of water between Cape Horn and Antarctica remains exactly as it was when the San Telmo vanished 200 years ago. It is a reminder that we are visitors here. It is a biological and geological barrier that protects the frozen continent from the rest of the world. To see the beauty of Antarctica, you must first pay the toll of the Drake Passage. And sometimes, as history shows us, the price is higher than we expect. The ocean is beautiful, but it is indifferent to our survival. And nowhere is that indifference more violent than in the Drake Passage. If you want to see more stories about the most dangerous frontiers on our planet and the science behind them, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.